Hey everyone, welcome to FilmBit Recap, where stories come alive. When the first part from the author came out, Killer Christmas Trees Review, by the way, on the channel, initially everyone expected only trash and exploiting beloved childhood characters, but curiosity still took over. Everyone was interested to see how Winnie-the-Pooh and Piglet slaughter humans. As a result, with a budget of only $100,000, the authors collected more than 5 million and 5 golden raspberries in addition. That opened the gates of hell. A sequel was immediately announced, and along with it, an entire universe horror movies about Bambi, Peter Pan, Pinocchio, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, and all of it will eventually turn into Pooh versus Monsters Assemble, a kind of parody of the Avengers. Even the poster is in the same style. And since the money from the box office keeps flowing, and the budgets of the movies along with it, the film under review has a budget of $500,000, which is 5 times more than the first part, so we should expect something 5 times cooler. So, let's watch it quickly. Everything begins with a quote from the great Poohs that there's no point hiding and waiting until they come for you. Sometimes you need to strike first. Then they begin to tell us about the consequences of the first part. After the massacre in the city, everyone freaked out, but most residents did not believe the story about murderous animals and blamed Christopher Robin for everything. But there were those who believed him. They began the search, cleansing everything in their path. As a result, Winnie was forced to nail his old friends. Christopher, instead of running far away, studied to become a doctor and stayed working in the local hospital. But that didn't help. Both he and Winnie became outcasts. The boy and his bear will not leave their game, and it looks like the game is about to begin. The girls decided to go out on a trailer to the 100-acre wood to summon local spirits. They definitely have strange forms of entertainment. I thought it was trendy now to read tarot cards, not play with Ouija boards. Give us at least some kind of sign. It seems they expected something much calmer. You weren't invited here, fuck off. The door of their trailer opens, but danger comes from the wall. A hand bursts straight out of it and immediately punches the girl in the face. Why the hell was she sticking her fingers there anyway? Winnie-the-Pooh starts wrecking the place, and the blonde takes it as a sign to get out of there as fast as possible. She jumps on a glamorous ATV that, of course, refuses to start. Meanwhile, her friend completely gives up trying to escape and sits inside the burning trailer until the end. The ATV finally starts, but she drives right into a bear trap and decides to stop to replace the wheel. The tire mechanic Pooh helps her with that by dragging her into the waiting room. But he and the blonde clearly have very different ideas of comfort. Without hesitation, Winnie breaks all her limbs and then finishes everything by smashing her head into the traps. Meanwhile, her burned friend decides to cool down a little, and some pile of filth crawls out of the water. And who's the real freak now? Owl ends the girl's suffering with a log. It's worth noting that this time the characters' costumes look much better. And now we move on to Christopher Robin, who in this film is played by a different actor, but not because the previous actor ran away in shame. The thing is, in this movie's universe, the first part is just a film, an adaptation of Christopher Robin's story. That explains why the villain's appearance looks much better and some moments are skipped. After everything that happened, Christopher turned to a psychologist. He is also bothered by a childhood memory when someone kidnapped his brother. We were playing with Winnie-the-Pooh, and everything after that is dark and blurry. And even though Christopher looks like a complete loser, a juicy blonde named Lexi still clings to him while he tries his best to push her away. You'd better leave.
I'll go. No, wait. Sorry, you'll never see me again. Of course, he does it out of nobility, so the city's hate won't stick to the girl. But she doesn't give up and gives the guy a ride home. There they show us public hypocrisy. They wouldn't have been shoving that car in if it weren't for me. You're not to blame for this. Stop crying. Meanwhile, the cops receive information about the girls.
God, right there.
Report it. Some mysterious figure is eavesdropping on the officers, a cliché for movies of this kind. At the same time, 3 guys armed with guns set out to hunt Pooh and his crew. "We'll get out of here and bring my daughter back." And it looks like they've come to the right place because a giant owl flies right past them. The owl returns to the lair where Pooh and Piglet are chilling. He warns that people are getting closer and soon they'll have nowhere to run. So it's time to make a decision: attack first or accept death. Total darkness falls, and in my opinion, the hunters should have run away and waited until morning. But instead, they clenched their buttocks and split up after hearing noises. Soon, Piglet attacks a pair of them, but the attack isn't very successful. A real pig, you saw that? Chris wasn't lying, so it's time to knock his head off. Meanwhile, the other guy encounters Pooh, who doesn't waste time. "Hold on! Who the hell?" "You'll find out soon." First, Pooh shoots him straight through, although returning Piglet's jaw later will already be problematic. The guy who got shot by his buddy suddenly wakes up. He suddenly comes to his senses. Apparently, he really wanted to go for a walk, but the walk turns out to be very short. Meanwhile, Christopher is busy with an important task, giving injections into people's backsides. But it seems people don't really like that a killer is staring at other people's butts. "My supervisors don't like the attention you're attracting. Maybe now you'll finally leave this town." At the same moment, the hospital receives that same guy with half a head missing. Looks like someone actually found him on the road. It's amazing, of course, that he survived after so much time. Oh God, it's R. Hey, what happened? They found him somewhere on the outskirts of town. Christopher's parents try to cheer him up, like, to hell with this job. They're all jerks. They lost such an important employee. Oh, come on. Who sticks their hand into the sink like that? Then comes a sentimental scene meant to introduce us to someone who calls herself Bonnie, apparently also from that weird furry group. I decided to make a charm that will protect us from everything. Christopher promises that nothing will happen to her, which means we're already prepared to worry about her when the real danger comes. So, let's get closer to the action. In the bloody forest, a father brings his son to watch birds through binoculars. They happily guessed one bird after another, but watching all this fun, someone suddenly disappears. I don't want to play anymore. Dad is instantly carried away by an air taxi, and it looks like the boy will now be watching birds alone. Or he could try to collect his dad from the pieces being thrown into the river by Winnie and Owl. Though I always thought they killed people to eat them, but maybe they simply picked the tastiest pieces. Meanwhile, Christopher arrives at another brainwashing hypnosis session. "We'll try to awaken your consciousness. Just don't accidentally slip into the astral. That happens sometimes. Lambert won't tolerate competition." Chris starts shaking hard in the chair, and finally the cartoon memories of his childhood begin. The boy thought he was friends with kind Winnie-the-Pooh, but in reality, Pooh was always a bloodthirsty maniac. It seems Christopher must have been pretty slow, because it's hard not to suspect something when your best friend is covered in blood. The stream of memories shifts to Billy's birthday, Christopher's brother. They were happily running around with a balloon until something happened. What do you see? Only the limo driver knows. Christopher decides to share all of this with Lexi, but she is a little busy at work. Today, the kid decided to act like a slasher killer. Well, it's nice to see a young cinephile growing, although instead of watching some good classic, the boy chooses to put on Winnie-the-Pooh Blood and Honey. To be fair, if there were a horror movie based on real events from my city, I'd probably rewatch it too. That movie is your lie. He was wearing honey when they... The hypnosis session immediately stops. Meanwhile, the hunters and the girls finally find the beast's lair. And inside, pile of corpses and lots of cheerful little decorations. Suddenly, a door that had always been locked opens.
Men, we're getting the hell out of here! Go ahead and try. Looks like their patrol has ended permanently. That evening, Christopher decides to talk with his parents about his missing brother. It turns out Billy wasn't the only one kidnapped that day. The guy explains the visions he sees during hypnosis, and it seems to give his parents hope for justice. If you remember even the smallest details, the police will reopen the case. This motivates Christopher, and he decides to solve the case with the help of Google, just in case the dumb cops got banned from there. He finds out that around the same time, the house of Professor Lopa, a genetic scientist, had burned down. The man had been conducting horrible experiments. After looking through the photos,
Chris goes to bed. Probably not the best idea. In the morning, a cop drops by their house. A lot of people have died recently, and rumors are spreading around town that some guy is running around in a bear costume and chopping people up. The cop makes it very clear that he wants to talk to Chris first. Wait, is that Yoshi from Smasheriki? So much for the multiverse crossover. Logically, they should be rushing to the hospital. The guy with half a head could die any minute. But no, a hangout with the squad is more important. Soon there's going to be some super exclusive party, and Lexi and Finn were invited to check out the venue. But as soon as the girl says she can't come, Chris immediately gets kicked out of the friend group. If they find out the killer is here, everyone will be terrified. But if Lexi showed up, everyone would stop being afraid of the local maniac. What nonsense! Well, at least now Chris can visit the survivor. The moment he arrives, the wounded guy tells him straight up, "You were right." Chris starts questioning him. What happened, who exactly, all the details. But the guy doesn't want to talk. He prefers to show it on his body. He unwraps his bandages and reveals his lovely face, saying that they did this. But wasn't it your buddy who shot you? Kinda messed up to blame someone else's screw-up. Soon a janitor walks by, and suddenly the whole picture comes together. He was the one who kidnapped Christopher's brother back then. Meanwhile, Finn, who has only said one word in the whole movie, takes a shower. Suddenly, he hears something strange and goes to check. Pieces of meat are lying all over the kitchen and the door is open. But apparently this is normal for him because he goes outside to look around. You're insane. And who here is sane? Owl pours something on him and then finishes the job. Chris, meanwhile, decides to follow the janitor and sneaks into his house. Right now, he could easily catch a bullet and end the movie. But no, the janitor is so obsessed with eavesdropping on police conversations that he doesn't notice.
Christopher suddenly finds himself right behind the janitor. "You took my brother and my friends. You're going to fucking tell me where you took them." And since the boy is acting all intimidating, the janitor starts spilling everything. He kidnapped children on request from that same scientist, Lopa, to pay off his debts. The kids were needed for various experiments. He mixed the DNA of animals and humans. And apparently, it eventually worked, and the children turned into monsters. But over time, even the scientist himself became afraid of what he had created. He took them into the forest, killed them, and buried them. The janitor witnessed all of it and lost his mind along with the scientist. But the kids crawled out of their graves. It seems Lopa didn't just turn them into beasts, he also gave them incredibly strong regeneration. That's why there was no doubt who organized last year's massacre in the forest, the monsters the scientists killed and buried. The janitor understood that if the police started digging, they could easily trace everything back to him. So he burned down the scientist's house after taking all the evidence. He's happy he finally unburdened his soul and told the whole truth. Now this burden falls on Christopher. He's the one who has to deal with this mess now. Meanwhile, Lexi continues babysitting Minnie Jason when she hears something downstairs. Someone climbed into the house. Yeah, not cool at all. Conveniently, her grandfather is a cop, and without receiving a response from her, he decides to send a patrol to their house. The boy and the babysitter hide inside a blanket fort. Obviously, the killers can't reach them in there. Freddy sends a car to scout the area and soon spots Winnie. Without hesitation, Winnie heads upstairs in search of the driver and immediately
Run, damn it, run! Looks like the bear is also pissed because outside the cops are already waiting.
though they don't really believe the stories about monsters. Still, they have to check the house. One of the female officers is sent to inspect the shed, and Winnie greets her there with his signature hugs. Why so rough? For that, you'll lose your arm. He tears off her hand and then beats her to death, and after that decides to taste her. Meanwhile, Christopher listens to Dr. Gallup's recordings, where he shares his progress, describing in detail how ordinary children were turned into animals with unusual abilities. They became dangerous and unpredictable. To avoid becoming their prey, the doctor decided there was no better solution than to kill the kids and start over. Back to the cops. They've already packed the girl's body, and you'd think there'd be no doubt that a human didn't do this, but no. I'm not believing it until I see it myself. Oh, really? And what about your partner with half his arm shoved inside his mouth? Good thing the kid managed to film the bear. Lexi decides to call Christopher and tell him what happened, that they were attacked and their friend Finn might be in danger. Maybe now the guy will finally realize it, since he couldn't figure that out himself. But it's already too late. Winnie-the-Pooh is already outside his house, preparing to spring his trap. Mom is washing dishes in the dark, apparently saving electricity, or maybe her eyes work like night vision goggles. Either way, she doesn't notice the bear behind her. Oh God, are you trying to kill me? That's exactly what he's doing. But a bunch of knives stuck in her head still don't kill her, so he has to finish the job. The dad rushes in after hearing the scream, but he gets beaten as well. The little girl goes downstairs toward Winnie, and her fate remains unknown for now. Pooh goes to Billy's room, although you could say Pooh went to his own room. Meanwhile, Chris arrives at the house, but there's not going to be a fight. The guy just breaks down crying while looking at the remaining pieces of his parents. Only after a while he remembers that he also had a little sister, but he can't find her. At the same time, the very party that rejected them earlier is in full swing. Tons of half-naked people dancing to loud music, which immediately attracts the maniacs looking to unwind. Winnie feels the same way and instantly feeds a guy at the entrance to a metal pipe. The girl in the bunny costume tries to flee, but Pooh floods the whole place with blood, and real slaughter begins, hacking left and right. Christopher listens to the police scanner and learns about the massacre at the party, meaning the hunt is on. The survivors run through the flashing lights, but escaping from the mascot bear won't be easy. Pooh floors the gas in a car after cutting off all 4 of his paws. Only a metal gate saves the latex lovers, though probably not for long, because in another room they're already greeted by Tigger, a panic-inducing killer. Tigger starts hacking them apart one by one, tearing through them with his fast claws so violently that feathers fly. Christopher arrives at the scene but finds only a mountain of corpses, and every minute new ones are added, because Winnie is definitely not relaxing, and the victims are practically sitting and waiting for their heads to be ripped off. One of the victims peeks through a hole, and he decides to play with her. "I told you to look, didn't I, bitch?" A hardcore nod to Freddy, the rhymes, the lines, and of course, the claws. Chris keeps moving from room to room, finding more and more bodies, while Lexi rushes to help him, though it's unclear how she can possibly help. Chris finally reaches the room he was looking for. There, Chris notices the grotesque party host. "Well, hello, Christopher." Yeah, looks like the warm welcoming didn't work out, and Tigger immediately runs far away from the psycho with a gun. The madness at the party doesn't stop, and Winnie keeps working tirelessly. One of the dudes even climbs into the oven himself. All Winnie has to do is turn up the heat. "You bastard! Die! Die!" That's a pretty rude way to talk to your friend. Gasoline plus fire gives a very unsafe effect. But no, Winnie-the-Pooh doesn't blow up and continues terrorizing Chris perfectly fine. Chris manages to run all the way to the grave, which apparently triggers nostalgia for the bear. "Oh, my sweet homeland, how nice it was to lie in you." It's horrifying, but his little sister had nothing to do with this. Robin daydreams, thinking that Pooh might become gentle again. If Lexi hadn't arrived just in time, he would have lost his head. Instead, he calmly takes an axe and splits Pooh's skull open, though he goes a bit overboard as if the bear were made of papier-mâché. All this time he was right under our noses. He hasn't been your brother for a long time. The police finally arrive at the scene. What incredible response time. They rush to the cop's grandson's house after just a few unanswered phone calls, but a nightclub massacre with dozens of corpses? No need to hurry. Still, the cops bring them to the
cops arrive where extremely dangerous maniacs may be operating, and his little sister definitely needs a hug. Honestly, I thought that since she called herself Bunny, the animals would grab her, and in the next movies, she'd become a rabbit killer herself. The girl throws away her charm. Why did you do that? We might still need it. And they definitely didn't forget that aside from Pooh, there's still Owl and Tigger, who escaped without any problem. If you ask me, it's way too early to relax. After a short credit scene, we see Winnie sitting, apparently being glued back together with honey, and Piglet's head is slowly growing back too. We will come back for you, Christopher Robin. In the credits, they show future characters of the film universe. Bambi under radiation, some kind of swamp creature, write in the comments who that is. Finally, an evil Pinocchio, and then what looks like Peter Pan. And then the whole gang assembled, the lineup that will appear in Pooh vs. Monsters Assemble in 2025. The nearest movie in this beautiful cinematic universe is Peter Pan: Nightmare in Neverland, which will be released this October for Halloween. Around the same time, we're also getting Terrifier 3, so autumn is going to be very interesting. If the creators continue improving these horror movies with childhood characters from film to film, then I think we're in for something truly worthy. And personally, I liked this movie. I don't really understand why all these respected film critics spit on the second part of Winnie-the-Pooh. The first one was definitely trash, made only to cash in on hype, but here you can clearly see actual progress. The characters look really high quality. There's lots of well-staged kills, tons of blood, and even boobs, which lately has become rare. Nowadays it's all endless movies about paranormal nonsense and boring, dramatic crap. Of course, the plot is very primitive and there's lots of questions. But if you turn your brain off a bit and watch it simply as a fun slasher, then why not? The filmmakers didn't blow all the money from the first film's box office. They invested it into the product. And I hope they continue improving and expanding the universe, just like what happened with Terrifier, which, judging by many interviews, is the franchise these authors are trying to emulate. And that's it. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. See you soon.